Okay, so I'm starting with. I don't want to start with this, but I gotta. Because we gotta get this out of the way. Toronto Maple Leafs, Auston Matthews. You guys know this is going. He's made his statement. So I'll go ahead and let you guys know what's been reported by Canadian Press, Sportsnet regarding this. It's something I don't think any of us wish we were talking about today. Unfortunately, it's the situation we're in. I regret any of my actions that would have put a distraction on the team or distress any individual. I take a lot of pride in preparing myself for the season and representing the Toronto Maple Leafs as well as I can. Unfortunately, due to the situation, I'm afraid I really can't make any other comments. And the comment section under last night's video got way more contentious than I thought it would. Here's the thing. So Matthews is out there with his friends, and I'm gonna explain my position here. And he thinks, hey guys, you know what would be really funny? That's when your friends go, no. His friends didn't. His friend goes, yeah, it's funny. Let's go get in her car. Yeah, let's go get in her car. It's gonna blow her mind. The way that people are making this out to be is it's something menacing and horror. Oh, it's men and it's a woman. It's a woman who's a security guard who is likely carrying a taser, potentially even a gun. Last night, while I was, going through comments on the comment section, I looked up Arizona security guards and security guard training, and yeah, you learn self-defense. You learn a lot of things, and level 2 of that training is firearm training. So if she had that level, she's trained to use a gun. He's lucky he didn't get shot. And then, there's statements about how long it took her to submit the report. It wasn't that big a deal. And she got out of the car. So they try to get in the car. She gets out and confronts them and goes, hey, what the hell? And she was talking to all of them. And then Matthews went away and decided to do his Homer Simpson, I'm going to be Mr. Burns. Mr. Burns, blah, blah, blah. And anyways... and now people want to make it this big thing, and now he can't be captain. Are we forgetting stupid things that Tyler Seguin did back in the day? Yes, because it's what happens. And the reason that I say he needs better friends is simple. I was the sober friend. Not always, but I was usually the sober friend. I was the one that somebody brought along like, man, last weekend I did something stupid. And whether it was a girl saying, look, there's this guy, I hit on him every time I'm drunk, or whether it was a guy who was saying the same about a girl, or it was something more. Maybe it was something like, I ended up in the drunk tank. I can't end up in the drunk tank again, which is where they throw you when they pick you up for drunk in public. So, I would be the sober friend that would be like, okay, that's enough when they were drinking. I would be the one that would say, hey, let's get away from that table. There's a fight brewing over here. Why don't we go over here? I would be the one that could remember everything that happened as well. And that can be a key thing too when somebody knows I'm going to go out and drink a lot. So I would do that. And I did that because there were times where I had been drinking and I had made some mistakes myself. You always see these commercials. Plan to arrive alive, right? Where, don't drink and drive and all that. The reason those commercials are out there, and God bless them, they don't get to the people that they should. Most people just figure, I'm fine. Is when you've been drinking, you don't make smart decisions. You don't. And it's not an excuse for doing something stupid. It's that there have been times where I've got in a vehicle, and this again was when I was in my late teens, early 20s. I'd had a few drinks, I get in a vehicle, I get driven home, or I get driven wherever, and I wake up the next morning and I go, that person was really drunk. That person was really drunk, and I shouldn't have been in their car. I shouldn't have been there. So what I ended up doing was, I wouldn't accept any kind of drive to or from the bar. I'd ride my bike to the bar. I'd lock my bike up like about a block away from the bar because I don't need people coming out and hassling it or peeing on it. And so I would park it, I'd lock it up to a tree or something about a block away from the bar. And that was also to make sure I was sober when I came out of the bar. So I would go into the bar and I'd go, okay, Shannon, you can't drink because the last thing that you need is to have cops putting you in the drunk tank because you got caught cycling drunk. And you don't need that at work on a Monday. You got caught, what? And laughter ensues. People do things when they're drinking, and everything becomes funny. And as a sober person, you have to stand there and go, that's not funny. If there was a sober person with Matthews and his buddies, that sober person would have said, hey, I have an idea. You know what's a better idea than what you guys are talking about doing right now? Not doing it. And finding something else instead. And you could have talked him out of it. Would have been like, you know what? She's doing her paperwork in the car there. She really doesn't look like she wants to get hassled. And she might have a gun. So let's find something else to do. All right? So, and now Matthews is having to come out and say it. And I'm talking about it again. And I honestly... And again, people are like, how can you feel bad for Matthews? Because again... What I'm telling you guys is, when I was in my late teens and early 20s, yeah, you do dumb things. And just because he has a bunch of money now, doesn't mean he's not going to do dumb things. If anything, it now affords him the money to do more stupid things. So you can't buy maturity. So he can't buy that with money, and nobody can buy maturity. And again, like I said, Tyler Seguin a few years ago when Boston got rid of him, that was part of the reason why, was they would complain about his lack of maturity. And then people are like, oh, he's not going to be captain now. I'm pretty sure Tavares was going to have the C anyways, and this is part of the reason why. They're young. You do stupid things when you're young, and I learned. This is why when I drink, and people who've been to meetups know this, I have one. That's it. One. I do not have more than one. And it's one of whatever I'm drinking. So if it's got 4% alcohol, it's one. If it's got 7%, it's one. That's it. There's nothing more. I've personally witnessed too many things in my personal life, and then I saw enough stupid decisions I was making that I said, you know what, Shannon? It's not worth the risk. And I'm very, very fortunate that I wasn't involved in a car accident, and that my life wasn't forever changed for the negative. And I went to school with people who died in drinking and driving accidents. I went to school with people who drank too much at a party. There was a friend of mine in high school who drank too much at a party, choked on his own vomit, and died. So, I understand the dangers of it, and the reality is, when you've had a few, your judgment is off, and what you think is funny isn't. And he's going to be answering questions about this for a while. So there you go. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Done. All right, moving along. I don't know how you segue from that, but I'm going to do my best. Nate Schmidt. Last year was suspended for 20 games for PEDs that were at such a level that it could have happened through accidental exposure. To this day, he says, I didn't do anything wrong. I had no idea, and now I'm being punished. So for me with Schmidt, I honestly believe him, and I have the whole way through. I don't think that he took anything or that there was anything heinous going on with him. And he's advocating for change. And the NHL and the NHLPA have had discussions about changing their testing policies and changing the amount that you have to have in order to come back with a positive test and then get suspended. They want to make sure that if you get suspended, it means you have so much in your system that it's above the accidental exposure limit. So be interesting to see what happens from there. But Schmidt is still kind of ticked that he has this tag as a cheater when he says he never did, and I don't see any reason to think that he did either. Troy Brouwer was released from a professional tryout contract with the Florida Panthers. We'll see if he lands anywhere else. This is a sign of the times that we have a salary cap now. The league's getting younger, and guys like Brouwer seem to be getting forced out of the league a lot sooner than they would have, say, 15, 20 years ago. So Brouwer, no tryout for you. And again, if you're waiting for guys to sign contracts that are out there as unrestricted free agents, and they're 35 years of age or older, sorry, the NHL's getting younger, and players are not staying in the league that are slower or older. All right, and on to other news. Jim Rutherford apparently says the goalie market's getting better. To which I'm sure Brisebois and Tampa Bay's going, it is? Rutherford wants to move a goaltender. He's got 3. You don't carry 3 goalies. I would imagine it's Jarry that's getting traded, although I could see DeSmith being the one that gets moved. Which one has more value, and which one would be perceived as having more upside? And if you're Pittsburgh, which one do you keep as a result? And it's not like there's been a huge differential between DeSmith and Jarry in how they've played the exhibition games so far. So it'll be interesting to see what Pittsburgh does and if they're able to get a move to be made. The fact Rutherford's coming and going, it's heating up, could very well be sort of like Mike Gillis back in the day when he's like, Chris Higgins is available. And then we heard crickets because we're like, we all know Higgins is available because he gave him that contract. So maybe Rutherford's doing some of that too. Like the goalie market's heating up and waiting for a general manager to call him. Going, oh, you want to get rid of one of your goalies. Saku Maenalanen, I learned your name. You didn't play very many games last year. You played, I think, 25 during the regular season. And now you've signed in the KHL. I can forget how to pronounce your name between now and when you come back. If he comes back. He signs a one-year deal with Jokerit. He was out there as a restricted free agent. Clearly, he and Carolina couldn't agree. It was probably one of those two-way contract things where Carolina wanted to give him a contract where they'd pay him a certain amount while he was in the NHL, and then that amount would drop substantially when he went to the American League. He probably wanted a one-way contract. That's how a lot of this ends up. And with Jokerit, you get paid. So he's going to the KHL, and I wish him the best. Again, Maenalanen. Took a while to get there. Now, on to tonight's action. That's right, we're playing some hockey tonight. Keep in mind, too, that we have the kids' hockey today, so that changes our schedule. New Jersey's in against Boston tonight. Ottawa's playing Vancouver in Vancouver this time rather than Abbotsford here. Abbotsford, please get your parking straightened out. If you're going to host events like the one we had the other night here in Abbotsford, your parking's just crap. Anyways, so there isn't enough. There's nowhere near enough. Just isn't. So Ottawa's in against Vancouver for a rematch. Let's hope it doesn't get ugly. Keep in mind, Besser and Fantenberg got hurt in the last game. The one thing is Vancouver doesn't really have tough guys that I can think of that could go out there and try to answer the bell for Besser and Fantenberg. So I'm not expecting it to necessarily be really chippy, but Ottawa's had some incidents already in the preseason. Montreal's in against Toronto to play the Leafs. Carolina's in against Nashville. The Columbus Blue Jackets are in against Buffalo. Detroit's playing against the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Capitals are playing against Chicago. Colorado's playing against the Vegas Golden Knights in Vegas, T-Mobile Arena. And the LA Kings play against Anaheim tonight. So Anaheim getting their work in. And after this slew of 9 games tonight, expect a lot of players to get sent down tomorrow. There are some big rosters right now, and that's going to change tomorrow morning. And the waiver wire so far, nobody's been taken. Like I said, that's why you waive so many guys early in training camp. Because early in training camp, early in the preseason schedule, teams are far less likely to take a player than later. So later on, let's say 3 days before the season starts, suddenly you've got a defenseman. A guy in Pittsburgh gets hurt. And then, we need a defenseman. And then you look at the waiver wire and you go, well, we could just pick this guy up. So by making that move early in training camp, you get guys through waivers that you might be more likely to want to use during the season. And a guy you don't want to lose on waivers to a team in a desperate situation a few days before the season starts. And that's why I think there were so many goaltenders that got waived so early. And veteran goalies too. We'll see. So if Rutherford's right, watch and see if Louis Domingue ends up getting dealt by Tampa. I've seen people all of a sudden saying, he was overrated and he wasn't that good anyways. He was pretty good for Tampa last year. I think he was somewhat overrated by that huge winning streak and all that. But at the same time, he did have decent numbers. He is a capable backup. It's just a matter of most teams have their backup position pretty solid. And again, if you bring him in, he has to play on the NHL roster. For the most part, Although, because he has cleared waivers, that makes it a little bit easier. But if he gets traded, Tampa's moving him to a team where he would get a shot at being one of the top 2 goaltenders. So the fact he's already cleared waivers, you don't have to waive him again for 30 days, really shouldn't factor into any kind of a deal. We'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support and for watching. Talk to you again soon.